Hey guys and girls, so today we're picking out our new server parts for our new GTNH server. This is not just for GTNH, clearly. This is a server that we're going to be using for many, many years for many of our projects, games, things like that. But I thought, you know what, maybe we can talk about it, go through it. The total is going to be a little expensive. It's going to be about 2,100 Canadian with taxes. But remember, that is Canadian, so not so bad. I know some people out there are like, wow, I make a full gaming rig, out of that. But you'll start to see once we go through why it gets a little more expensive and what we're going to do with it as time goes on. So starting with the case. Now, you guys can make suggestions, comments, things like that. I've had a lot of people say, oh, you don't need 64 gigs of RAM, or you don't need this or that. And it's like, you can comment if you like. I don't mind it. I'll read your comments, and sooner than, is better than later kind of thing, right? Because once I buy them, that's kind of a little too late then. But a lot of them are just people trying to downgrade things. I don't want to downgrade it. I want a badass server to provide us, a lot of people just see it as more of a selfish thing. Oh, I just see Minecraft being run on it and that's it. Well, what about a game that does multi-threading? Or what about multiple games on it? Things like that. So I'll talk about the parts while we go through it and explain some of my reasoning and thinking anyways. And you guys can do whatever you want there. So this is the Corsair Carbide. This is a mid tower, so it's not big. It's it's a medium-sized tower, which is still a decent size. The reason I went for this case wasn't for looks, wasn't for style, wasn't for the Corsair name. In fact, I kind of tried not finding a Corsair because there's a delay shipment on this part and nothing else, and it's all the Corsair cases have a delayed available to ship 1 to 2 days. Kind of dumb. So I went ahead. I'm not supposed to buy parts till the 1st of February, but I went ahead and ordered this yesterday, or I guess today. It was like last night, whatever. Well, I guess it'd be yesterday now by the time you watch this video, hoping that it'll move it a little faster. So it's saying you'll get the parts between the 5th February, so Monday and February the 10th. Okay. So yeah, this one is I was going based on. Basically, February the 10th would be the Monday. So if I'm ordering the parts on the 1st, where I live, I'll be lucky if I see them Friday. Definitely I should see them for Monday. So that's kind of how I was thinking. So if I order this case now, I'm hoping it'll make it in time. But anyways, so yeah, the Corsair case here. The reason we're ordering this puppy is simply because of the internal side and the width of it. So if we check down here, the width is 21, and I've looked up online, I forget the exact width measurement from motherboard to cooler space and stuff, but basically this was to fit our cooler, which I'll show because our cooler sticks out. It's like one of the biggest coolers on the market, basically. It's one of the coolest coolers also benchmarked on the market. There's like 2 others that are competitive, even maybe slightly better. And even those ones weren't that good because when I did research on it, those ones were basically like more expensive anyways, and there was some other you might actually get cooling better, but I'm assuming a 360 millimeter radiator for water cooling and stuff like that. I'm assuming that's not going to cost like $100. You're going to probably have to spend like $300, I'm guessing, on a water cooler for there. But water cooling when it comes to the all-in-one kits are not usually worth it unless if you go, I think people say like 280 plus radiator or something like that. Somebody can correct me on that. But anyways, yeah, so that's the case. It's pretty cool. And I guess 2 fans are included. This is going to be in the server. Like, it's going to have a different room. It's a server, so it's not a desktop PC, right? So I don't need to be near it. I don't need to listen to it. This is kind of clever. They have little slots, I guess, or pocket spots for SSDs. I mean, that's kind of clever, and they got these guys on the bottom. I'll definitely need a couple slots for those, so that's important. I wanted a rack case, a 4U, but first of all, I found out that it wouldn't have fit inside the cooler. I was willing to maybe weak out on the cooler, but then I realized also the server case wasn't on sale anymore. And it wasn't on sale. It wasn't like a good discount. It was usually like an $80 4U server case, and then that was it. And then the only thing on Amazon isn't really anything else. That was it for Amazon Canada, basically. And that's pretty much what I'm stuck to as a retailer. So yeah, in the end, I decided to go with this. So it's a sleek case. It's an okay-ish price. A lot of people think it's a little higher, but honestly, it was one of the few cases that can actually fit a fan of my size. Literally, it would be going up in price, and that was kind of the key thing here. So either way, not bad. The next one here we have is the Corsair Psu here. So I'm getting a 650 watt, quite a lot of punch there. But one thing is, this is going to be a server, going to probably even overclock the CPU a bit, the RAM, going to have multiple drives in it. I do plan on putting a more powerful Ethernet adapter in it, not right away, but in the future. I have an actual quote-unquote network upgrade I'm doing this year. And so I'm going to upgrade to, yes, you won't believe it, a 10 gig card, dual port on that eventually. And I'm upgrading to a 10 gig network. So that way, and I mean, it doesn't mean a lot for people outside. It means more inside my network. Be able to back up, work with the servers, do things back and forth and use that bandwidth, like the direct channel, and just do a lot more, which is really awesome. That's why I'm going for the two port, so I can do like a direct connection between two servers, which I think would be really, really cool. So we'll see what we can do with that. But either way, I didn't get the modular ones. Honestly, I've always had a bloody nightmare with modular power supplies. I don't know about you guys, but they get a little loose or they act up, or I don't know. I just had a bloody nightmare every time I've played with modular power supply units. So I just wanted a decent, strong 65 watt power supply that is more than enough. I can run a bunch of things off of this. Down the road, if I need to, I can run a bunch of hard drives or an array of something. This is meant for a server, right? So that's kind of where I was going there. And yeah, I mean, sure, I could save maybe $20 or $30 getting a way lower power one, but then this way I don't have to worry about touching it again, basically. So, and Corsair ones are really good. The motherboard. So the motherboard, there's one upsetting thing on this motherboard, slightly upsetting. And this isn't really uncommon, I think, for the AMD chips as much, but that would be, is that a front side bus then? Or is that do they call it front side bus? No, I think it's related to the channeling for the PCI 4. What do they call that these days? The bus or whatever that powers that. I know back in the day it was front side bus, but isn't that actually built into AMD chips now? But anyways, long story short, basically it has the little fan on there. As a desktop computer, probably wouldn't be so fun, an extra fan running. For a server running in the other room, which it could be as loud as it wants. I don't have a problem with that. Don't think I'll have a problem with that at all. So I'm not worried about that. It's just kind of interesting because I'm not used to that anymore. That's kind of an ancient old thing in a sense. Now, I try to get the non-gaming one, which I think I saved like $10, $20 at most with it. Everything is like stupid RGB colors. It's like I'm trying to buy a decent, like really good motherboard. I'm not trying to go for the fancy, crappy, whatever motherboard. One thing I did look into motherboards as well is the LAN cards on these things. And I'm pretty sure this one was just your regular, you just had the regular 1 port, 1 gig LAN on it. And I'm happy with that, right? Like I don't need anything more than that for that portion of it. But there was other ones with like 2.5, and I think this one shows it here. Do you tell me? Oh yeah, so you got the gigabyte LAN here, which I'm not a fan of gigabyte, but whatever. It is what it is. And then I looked up here, and there's the 2.5 gig one. I'm like, what? But you pay a monstrous, like it's ridiculous the amount of price you'd pay for this one. So it's not worth it. At that point, you might as well get a card. You can actually get a decent card for $50 for 2 10 gig slots for a network card. So you just don't go over crazy with the motherboard. I wanted, I guess, future-proof kind of on this motherboard. It is PCI 4. This server is going to last longer than my desktop computer in that sense, right? So like the whole point is, you want something that'll be there and strong, and even like we're using 2600Ks right now. They're about 10 years old. If I retire this in 10 years, that is not bad. You know what I mean? And that's the top of the line. The 2600Ks were not the top of the line at the time. And we seem to be kind of slowing down on that inching of, per core performance. So I think it's going to be a decent motherboard anyway. So yeah, it has got 4 channels on it for your DDR4 RAM. It can do up to 128 gigs of RAM, which we're going to actually do 64. But it does give us the possibility of upgrading it down the road if we want to. So that's my thinking there on there. And, it's got USB 3.2, not that I care much on that, but I do care about the USB slots, especially if I use, like, sometimes I'm nuts. I go and buy external hard drives. A lot of times I don't put external hard drives in computers. I should probably do that a bit more, because these days you buy external hard drives. You can buy decent ones as long as you're looking for the right one. People tell you what's inside of them. They're cheaper than a standard internal hard drive. And a lot of times they're just lazy just to rip it out. I'm like, well, if the hard drive works really well, and if it's used for backups and things like that, for data management and stuff, like things you're not accessing over and over nonstop, I find that sometimes just using the USB external hard drive is just, why not? It sounds lazy, but I have one right now in the corner of my room. It sits there. It's not in my case. It's not loud. It's got a long cable. It's right in the corner. I don't hear it. It's got its own cooling, basically, because it's on a cold basement floor. And it's just isolated, and it works just like that. And if I needed to somehow grab it for whatever, my house is burning down, I could just grab that, and some of my backup data is on there. So either way, I know it's weird. I'm not saying that I would never put hard drives in a computer, just saying at this point, because they're so cheap and they already come in a shell and the shells are fast enough for what I need, I usually just keep them in there. So the faster USB ports come in handy these days. So here comes the big one. So this is an Amazon. Yes, this is Amazon. This is an AMD Ryzen 9 3900X 12-core, 24-thread unlocked desktop processor with a cooler we're never going to touch. Now, the Wraith Prism LED cooler is kind of cool. It looks fancy. It's like, oh, it's crappy, honestly. Let's just be real. I didn't realize how crappy it was. I didn't research at that point yet. I was talking to people, asking questions, things like that. But I did end up finding out that the basically, even on its own, just using it, like if you were to like game heavily or run a server, things like that, you definitely would hit the thermals on it, which would start throttling it down, and you'd actually lose speed, which that's no good. And that's one of the reasons why we're going to buy this fancy fan, which I'll show you next. So this is a 12 core. I would consider getting the next one up, but it's not really worth it. 4 more cores for the 16 is, I think, like over 1,000 at that point, which is like not, I don't think, really worth it, honestly. I mean, I wish, but it's not quite there yet price-wise, so I've decided to stick with the 12-core, 24 threads, which I think is awesome. Minecraft is very heavy on 1 core, or 1 thread, right? You look those at cores, even though if they have multiple threads, don't ever consider looking at that. Just think of, okay, it's really heavy on 1 core. And 1 core does not give you 2 like full threads. Like, you have to remember that. So like Minecraft, if you run the hell out of it, yeah, it'll probably eat up 1 main thread like crazy, but the other thread is non-existent at that point because it's being all used in the first core, right? It's got a teeter-totter in the sense, right? There's just some slight improvements, in certain applications and stuff like that. But anyway, so what's nice about this is it's got a good max boost on it. It has a really decent, one of the better, pretty much actually top on the market, single core performance, or we call them single thread performance. And what's really nice about the AMD CPUs that I've learned, and I'm going to attempt to just even slightly, is that the AMD CPUs are pretty good at overclocking multiple cores on bringing them closer to the boost amount, and even not maybe quite there, but you can bring them up quite a bit. And so my idea is even bringing 6 of them, say, up there. So, you take core 1, they probably do it mathematically 0, take 0, 2, 4, etc., etc. And I'm gonna set them. Oh, actually, that didn't make sense. It would be 0, 1, and then 2. Oh yeah, it would do that. 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Anyways, so every other core, basically, they're lined up in a certain pattern, right? So the idea is you take every other one and you bring up their speed up a bit more. You overclock them, and that way it can help dissipate and help keep it cooler. And that way you can, have like say 6 really good cores on there instead of just the one really good core. And that will give us a lot of performance. You can honestly run multiple GTNH servers on this and it would rock. It would be better. I bet you anything you could run, if you do the overclocking properly with the fan we're getting everything, you could run 6 GTNH servers and they would all outperform each one than the current ones are being hosted by anyone else out there. Because no one is buying like ridiculous top of the line per core performance, right? They're going to be probably renting it from a place, or they're using an older desktop, things like that. So they'll have a bit lower performance on that sense. But so that's kind of the idea. So we're going to be doing a bit of overclocking, not crazy overclocking where you're going to melt the CPU, but enough to get us more of that performance out of a few more cores, and then it'll work really well. And plus, any other games that we run, applications, programs, it doesn't matter. Whatever we use the CPU for, it's got lots of threads, lots of cores, and we're going to use it. That's the nice thing about it. It's got a nice scalability to that, and so I think that's going to be awesome. I can't wait. And so I'm interested in this. My computer, my personal computer. Is a 9900K, and that thing runs hot, and really hot. But this thing would smoke that one. It actually smokes it by the benchmarks. Are like, was it like by 25% more? It smokes it, and my CPU is actually still more expensive than this, and it's on sale. I really hope that price stays. I think there's a bit of a price drop actually. So to be honest, in a couple of weeks, it'll probably be set that price, or maybe just say the save price, but. Either way, I hope it doesn't kind of fluctuate in a couple of days because I'd like to get it at that price or even cheaper if possible. Okay, so moving on. For a puppy like this, you need to cool it down. Now, unfortunately, in Canada, everything is expensive. Like, so people, like, if you take this Canadian price and put it to American, it's probably still more than what you have to pay for a piece of hardware. And so it's not just the interest rates, or not the interest rates. Sorry, it's not the conversion that just makes things more expensive. In Canada, hardware is just expensive, period. It's just what it is, and it's how it's always been. And it kind of sucks, like there was a time where, sometimes it was better for us to buy hardware from the States to bring into Canada. Unfortunately, with the way things are going, I don't think they've done anything. That NAFTA thing, I don't think we've ever, if anyone knows about the NAFTA thing, let me know. But I think right now, to bring an item from the States, if it's more than $25, you get the border customs fee, which is beyond insane. Like, I've had like a $100 hard drive sent to me, and they wanted $50 for it. And that was a gifted item. Yeah. Anyways, the point here is that it's expensive to sell. But anyways, the Noctua. I used this stuff when it was not even cool. I remember buying these puppies right here. Some people think these are ugly. You build the right looking, case with this. These can look actually really cool. But anyways, these puppies here, I used to buy them as case fans, like many, many moons ago, like long time ago. Like, we're talking about like, oh, hell, would it have been even AMD computers back then? Like Athlon? No, I'm not even sure if it was that far back. But anyways, it was a hell of a long time ago. And these guys were really powerful, but really quiet. They were just really decent fans. Well, the same thing is here again. This is a very powerful fan, but at the same time, it keeps it really quiet, but really cool. And it's like one of the top 5 probably. If you look at like a benchmark of like air coolers, it's literally in the top, I think, like 3 of the 5 or something like that. And so, yeah, really powerful fan. So this is one of the reasons why I needed the extra size on the case, because this puppy is like 165 millimeters, I think, or something tall. Like, yeah, you needed something that was really, does it say somewhere around here? I think they give you like some pictures or whatever. Oh, here you go. 165, yeah, from the top to the bottom. And then there was certain RAM clearance as well. So you needed clearance for your RAM to be on your motherboard. So I actually had to research that as well and look into it and stuff like that. So it was kind of why, like I didn't just research the motherboard, but also research the case, because you needed to research both of those to see if they would fit correctly with this fan. So, buyer be warned, it could be quite interesting if you're to buy this and didn't quite fit. Anyways, apparently they say the newer models now come with the AM4 piece for it. So, I mean, if we scroll all the way to the top, I'm pretty sure it says AM4s here. Oh, you know what? I better double check that because, oh yeah, AM4 here. Yeah, okay. Yeah, AM4. From what I read from their site, they said anything after 2019, that was like, was it September, November, something like that. Basically, all these ones would come with it. Before that, you'd need to buy like a separate kit or something for it. So I'm pretty sure we're safe there. I'm pretty sure it also comes with the stuff there. What do you call this? I can't even think of the word. Not the adhesive, not coolant. I can't think of the name. Thermal paste. There we go. Sometimes it's like in your head and you know what it is. I've used it many times, but it's just like, because I used to use like Arctic Silver or something. Oh, is this Arctic? Oh, they just call it Arctic. It's probably a no-name crap brand that just, works just fine anyways. But apparently it comes with its own, and everyone says it's good, and has a 6-year manufacturer warranty. I don't think you'll ever break one of these things. I mean, they're pretty good, but if when you're running a server, I guess, if you've been running it for 5 years, that 6th year, maybe something will happen. But anyways, yeah, so that's a pretty petty, but if you're going to do a bit of overclocking and stuff like that, you kind of need something like this, and it's one of the best air-cooled. And like I said, to do like equivalent water cooling, from what people were saying, I think, was it like you have to hit about 280? I guess, size radiator, or maybe it was like minimum 280 to, meet or beat kind of it. And then price wise, you'd be losing out. And then say the computer I got 360 there or whatever, then you definitely win, but you wouldn't be winning on the coolant price on that one. So, okay. So the RAM is bloody expensive. I can get slightly cheaper RAM if I broke this up into smaller modules, but I've decided to go with 2 32 gigabytes rather than rather than 4 16 gigabytes, because 1, you get to upgrade it down the road if you need to. 2, apparently the memory modules actually have more stress when you have 4 chips versus 2 chips. I didn't know that, but I researched that. I looked into that, and apparently that's a thing. And so, especially when you're overclocking it, which we do plan on overclocking the RAM a bit. We're not going to go crazy with it, but if we can bring that 32 to a simple 3600, which shouldn't be a problem, and it's C16 right there, that'll make it faster. That'll make it a lot better. And AMD has a big effect on RAM, and in fact, I've looked at benchmarks, which are really interesting. Like things like running Factorio had a huge difference on different RAM speeds. So we do know when you're pressing really hard on that one thread, maxing that CPU, and you need that little extra speed, that extra information. It has proven to be needed, and I think like a mod pack like GregTech would actually benefit from slightly faster RAM speeds. There's not been tests on it. I don't think I'll ever, Minecraft itself, it's just too hard to run, the perfect test. I guess if you do this perfect setup that's really, really taxing and laggy, and then you reset it, like save it, and start from the same one over and over, it wouldn't be so bad. But I mean, Factorial is a lot easier to manage. It's quicker to load, things like that. So it's probably more fun to do it, in a game like Factorial where it takes you 2 seconds to get in, where, a pack like GTNH takes you like friggin' it forever. But anyway, so yeah, this is, it's Corsair. Corsair seems to be, our big one here today. I'm not going for brand. Well, I do go for brand as in, are they a name brand or are they like some I've never heard before? You know what I mean? But yeah, they're a decent brand, and so I know the RAM is going to be decent here, and designed for high performance overclocking. So there you go. And yeah, so I think this will be really awesome, and I think you guys will enjoy this, hopefully, if you're on the server. So yeah, look at this guy. He probably doesn't have that version of it. It's like, did the guy get 128 gigs on his? Because that's what I'm thinking of eventually. We might go for 128 gigs. It depends on how RAM hungry we are. We don't need RAM disks anymore, because the next thing I'm going to show you kind of solves that. But honestly, it makes you wonder, like, if there's some, really heavy server RAM-based games out there are fun to run, Hell yeah, let's do that. Or any other thing I, might find useful, the use out of it. And you can actually see them doing it properly here. You can see them doing the different channels. So they're doing, the gray there, because you run them in parallel or whatever for the extra speed or whatever they do. So you can see them, they're doing that properly there. So that's kind of cool. So let's go to our next item. So this is XPG, which might mean nothing to anyone out there. It's actually ADATA, which I'm 99% sure it's ADATA. Anyways, which some people are like horrified on the idea. Actually, ADATA has been doing amazing. I have one of these in my computer, actually. Slightly different model. Different on the one that's here. Exactly the same version, basically, like the number on it, I guess. So basically, this thing can do 3,500 megabytes a second read and 3,000 megabytes a second write. So that's capital MB, right? So if you think about a network card, it's bits, not bytes, right? This is bytes, not bits. And a network card is bits, not bytes. Sorry, I'm confusing myself there. So when you look at 1,000 and compare it to this, that is not even close at all. Because if you think about it, this is 3,500 capital MB, which is literally, take that and times that by 8, and you have your number. I don't feel like taking out the calculator right now, but you have your number there, and that's how much capacity you would need on your network to basically keep up with that. So that's like more like get a 50 gig card, which is kind of funny. Because that, I'm not saying I'm going to get a 50 gig card, or I think they do 40 and 80 or something around that gig cards, but you could run one, into two of them, use that drive and use an actual remote, drive and be able to use that capacity up. That'd be amazing for VMing and stuff like that. I assume they do something similar like that, right? To be able to use that fast storage. But anyways, this is an awesome little SSD. They call them NVMEs. I don't know. I always I try to remember NVMe or NVM. I think I'm getting better at it, but it's capital NVM and then lowercase e. Anyways, this puppy is amazing. I'm getting one. I'll eventually probably get a second one. My motherboard. One of the reasons I picked that motherboard, which I didn't mention then, was actually because I wanted full bandwidth on the two M2 slots there. And so we do have the two slots there. We're getting a 2 terabyte, so we're not messing around. The last thing we want to do is mess around. Our server already, just the Twilight Forest, Overworld, and Nether generated for the GTNH server we're doing is, I think, about 120 or 115 gigs already. So that's a lot, and that's, not counting things like backups and stuff like that. I got 2 10 terabyte hard drives here I got last year, actually, ready for backup and storage and long-term data and things like that. So I also have that for backups, but I'm not going to worry about that right away. But either way, yeah. So this puppy will be great. It'll be perfect in a VM experience on a server, right? Because then you can run up instances. You don't have to worry, I can give myself a good 100 gigs. Before it was like, oh God, I pretty much gave myself 800 gigs and that was it. We used almost all our server resources because we were low on hard drive space. That was actually one of the funniest and messed up parts about it, was how little hard drive space we had. That was literally always our fighting. And then because they're older drives, we were getting SSDs. And even at the time, these things were just not really worth getting at the time. They were too expensive, right? But we were getting SSDs and they were still only like 250 gigs, 500s were a little too much, but prices have dropped a lot, so it's great that we can get onto this and grab one of these. And that's about it for the computer specs. And like I said, eventually, further purchases might not happen this year, might happen this year. I do have a bit of a budget for networking, and like I said, you guys, well, maybe I didn't say, you guys can always donate or contribute, help buy this stuff. This is not for my personal gain or use, this is for, the Stone Legion and stuff like that. This is for you guys, these servers, But anyways, I really, I'm putting, quite a bit of money in this. And like I said, I'm going to do another one because this is going to be like kind of a lifetime, okay, I won't have to worry about this for many years now. And then I plan to do like a really big new network. We can get like brand new switches, managed switches, everything else like that. We're going to go like freaking really awesome here. And I plan to provide something awesome, hopefully, for you guys. And I hope to grow. I really, really, really like to grow, do other games like Ark. Here's a game that I would love to play, actually. Ark Survival. Ark is a hungry beast of a game to run. Ark is actually really fun. Even my friend Electrobot might even consider playing Ark if he played like the way we were doing. We were doing it survival. A lot of it was just going around taming, building, crafting, going through the tech tree, things like that. He's not the best at survival, I will admit. Like, he hates like the 7 days to die type survival. But Ark wasn't so bad with that. Ark, you could actually power yourself up pretty good. There's different maps and things like that, but you can get into places where, it wasn't more about you dying, it's more about your dinosaurs dying, and even then, if you play and set the rules right, you can do a lot. Actually, Ark was a lot of fun. So for example, for Ark, you can tame a really badass dinosaur, and that guy goes out and does all the killing and owning for you. That was kind of the idea with Ark, right? So, but yeah, Ark is something I would enjoy playing, but server-wise, it was like we did run it, and I think we ran it on 3 freaking servers, the 2600Ks, and even then it was like, it was pretty, it was like, oh my, but you get the idea though. This new server stuff will give us a huge opportunity. Lots of RAM, lots of space, lots of cores. We can do so much. We could run multiple Ark servers. You can run a Minecraft server. You can do whatever, and that's just on one box. And then you can do a lot. Like at that point, the second one is the filler. Like that point, we it's our buffer. The other one we could probably easily fill it to 100, or this one, right? The other one, that's when, we might get it to like 20% or 50% used. Who knows, or more. But either way, it lets us expand. It lets us try new games out. It lets us do fun things with it and just keep going and really enjoy the passion of what we've done. And this is honestly the passion we had before. I mean, I always used to spend a lot of my own personal money trying to build the best servers possible. Even before, we did Godcraft and Stone Legion. A lot of my game servers were run at home. I used to buy hardware, and I used to use that hardware at home and, do that. It wasn't until Minecraft, unfortunately, the upload bandwidth we were getting at, home basically started to suck a bit too much. Now, thankfully, internet's gotten a little bit better, so it's not so bad. But most games outside of Minecraft work really well on modern, internet connections and things like that. So anyways, I think it's going to be awesome. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a great project, and I think it's going to open a lot of doors and opportunities, and I hope you guys will enjoy it. And yeah, I probably talked a lot. I probably over-explained things and why I'm doing them, why I want them, but hopefully you guys will enjoy it. By the way, if you notice, there's no GPU. Yes, I'm just going to pull out a GPU. Oh, wow, I don't even need to pull out one. Well, it'll be pulled out of an old box, but I'm just going to take an old GPU and just plug it in temporarily just to provide us something to connect with it, because there's no GPU with it, right? So there's no, and the AMD, these versions of the AMD CPUs do not have all that video crap on them, no onboard. Like if you buy an Intel video card, like 99% of them I think come with like an onboard the onboard video, but this one does not have any onboard video. So I just want to let you know. And if you see it on the motherboard, that doesn't mean it actually works. The CPU itself has to provide it, right? And that's where we don't have anything. So I thought, I'll just use an old one and just pull it out after. Unless if I can find a really, really cheap, simple one that I can put in there, then I might just keep one in there, right? Like if I can find a nice VGA one or something that you can throw in there and forget kind of thing, I don't have a problem. If it's HDMI cable, whatever, HDMI DVI, but I'm still old school. Just a simple VGA cable works, but a lot of the cards were actually really expensive because I guess they're just supply and demand is just non-existing anymore. Who wants to pay $50 for a video card when you could just swap one in and just pull it out after, right? So anyways, thank you guys and girls so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you will enjoy this server that I'm going to be building. And if there are any sugar daddies out there, I'm joking on that part. But if there are people out there who, have a good, decent paying job and who want to donate towards this project, please, I think in my description I have a PayPal link, or come on our Discord, whatever. But, I'm not begging for money, but I am like, those people out there who have a decent job, who are going to play this server. I hope you consider donating. I don't think we're going to be doing like stupid, donation ranks and things like that. I'm sure that's going to hurt us, but we don't want to ruin the experience for everyone. We want everyone to be fair, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm doing this, is trying to make a fair server. Hopefully in the long run, we'll get some donations trickling in here and there, and then we can help, produce and pay for this, as well as, help go towards the next server, or pay for that server in the long run, in the sense where it's like, what? Yeah, I invested my money into it, but in the long run, it paid itself off, right? So anyways, thank you guys and girls so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, all that fun stuff, and we'll see you wonderful people next time. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.